Good morning, everybody. As usual, I hope you are well and healthy and your family are all good. Today, we are going to get straight into going over the reading portion of the example practice test I gave you last week. This week would be week 2 of the NYSESLAT. We would have been finishing off everything. We would have been trying to get everything done. We would have finished everything so that we could get it all completed for the deadline of Thursday. This week, I just want you to continue work on the reading, listening, and writing section. This is only a practice. It just lets us both see where you would have come if you had taken the test. This is not, doesn't go towards anything. It doesn't go towards a grade or anything. This just allows us to create better instruction going on into the future. There is no point me focusing on listening if you guys are all scoring maximum points on listening and ignoring reading. So that kind of thing, okay? If you have not finished the reading portion, then don't watch the rest of this video because I will be giving the answers. Sure, you could watch it, get the answers and cheat as it were, but there is no point. There is no point. If you get 1 on this, at least I know the other 6 are the areas we need to work on. If you get 6, then I know that 1 is the area to work on. So just be honest with your answers. I don't mind if you get them wrong because it gives us a starting point to make it better in the future. Okay, we are planning for the next month, but we're also planning for September. This pandemic will not stop us from passing out of ENL when we eventually get there. So today we're doing the reading. I have the reading passage with me. I'm going to read out the passage and then we're going to address the questions one by one. I'm going to show you how I would think in the test, how I would do the exam, how I would approach it. Okay? Okay, ready. Grade 7 to 8 reading test, the contest. Raymond played the song, then lowered his fiddle. Clapping, his mama said, "You're going to win that contest." Raymond grinned and replied, "I want to make everyone in Logan County proud of me." A month earlier, he had won the county fiddling contest. Before that day, he played his winning songs hundreds of times. The 1902 state fiddling contest was in 3 months and he thought he would practice the song 100 more times before then. After all, his intention was to win that contest too. He smiled and thought about the rest of his plan: to win the grand prize, lessons from well-known fiddler Luke Lucas, and to eventually become as famous as Luke. From the porch, Raymond could see his father and his brother Tom, who appeared exhausted as they trudged up the road. Their faces were black with dust from the coal mine. They waved, and his father shouted, "Great fiddling!" Raymond's mother called to Tom, "A letter arrived for you." Tom dashed inside. He reappeared shortly and exclaimed, "Mr. Stickler wants me to start working for him in Huntington in 2 weeks. He'll teach me to be a mechanic, so now I won't have to work in a coal mine." Raymond smiled at Tom's joy, but when he noticed the worried look on his father's face, he asked hesitantly, "What's wrong, Pa?" "Raymond, your brother's work is dangerous, and he needs to leave the mine, but our family can't survive on my earnings alone," his father explained. "I will ensure you're given a job in the mine that isn't so dangerous, like removing pieces of rock from the coal." "If I work in the mine for hours a day, I can't practice my fiddling," Raymond said softly. His father mumbled, "I'm sorry, son." Raymond, feeling sad, glanced at Tom. "Don't despair," Tom reassured him. "After I get trained, I will send money home and you can quit working. Keep practicing so you can win the state contest in 1903. Raymond smiled weakly at his brother, put the fiddle in its case, and latched the lid. Next year. he whispered to himself. So that was the passage you had to read. Obviously about a young man in 1902, 120 years ago, where he was playing the fiddle, which is like a little violin kind of thing. Okay. Question 7. It's question. By the way, it starts on question 7 because 1 to 6 was the listening, which is we'll go through that another day. Okay, so today's just a reading. Read this paragraph again. From the porch, Raymond could see his father and his brother Tom, who appeared exhausted as they trudged up the road. Their faces were black with dust from the coal mine. They, and the word they is underlined, they waved and his father shouted great fiddling. Which pair of words helps explain the meaning of they? So there's two things to note about this question. Number one, it said read this paragraph again. A lot of times in the ESL exam and to some extent the ELA exam, they repeat the line that is pertinent to the question. So they give you the lines that are important and then ask the question. Now, does that mean that we can just skip reading the passage? Not at all. That would be an idiotic approach. I've seen children take that approach before, and I've seen them fail because of that. Reading the passage is important. You need to know the storyline. You need to know the context. Pulling the lines out is fine, but hopefully you should be able to answer the questions before they even tell you which lines they come from. So no, that doesn't mean you get to skip reading the passage. Secondly, which pair of words helps explain the meaning of they? So we need to look at what the question is asking. The meaning of they. What is they? Well, I know they comes with I, you, he, she, we, they. When do we write they? Normally when we're talking about people. So instead of saying, if I said, oh, my kids were really annoying me yesterday because they're running around the house, I could replace my kids or Owen and Jack with they. So we're probably looking for people. So let's have a look. Which pair of words helps explain the meaning of they? A, porch, road. Well, if you're talking about a porch or a road, you would replace that with, if you said the road is long, you wouldn't say he or she or they is long, you would say it is long. So it can't be A. B, dust, coal. Same thing with dust. If you said coal is hard, you wouldn't say he is hard. You would say it is hard. Father, brother. They waved and his father shouted great fiddling. So his father and his brother waved and his father shouted great fiddling. That could be it. That could be it. D, waved, shouted. Well, you couldn't say waved instead of they waved. So that makes no sense. That's nonsensical. So if I looked at those and I was looking for something to eliminate, first it would be D and then A and B. The answer is C. Father, brother. They is talking about people. Father, brother. Okay? So that's question 7. Question 8. Read these sentences again. So once again, it's giving us what it wants us to look at. And I'm going to skip to the question, which phrase helps explain the meaning of intention? Intention. Okay, listen. The 1902 state fiddling contest was in 3 months, and he thought he would practice the song 100 more times before then. After all, his intention was to win that contest too. So when it asks for a definition or a meaning of a word, a lot of times they'll always underline that word in the paragraph. So a lot of times you can take the options A, B, C, D and just put it where the word intention is, where the word they're trying to define is. And I'll give you an example. So here it says, after all, his intention was to win that contest too. What we're going to do is we're going to go through A, B, C, D and replace intention with these words and see if it fits. Okay? So let's go. A. After all, his in 3 months was to win that contest too. That makes no sense. His what in 3 months? That makes no sense. After all, his in 3 months was to win that contest too. That doesn't make any sense. B. After all, his plan was to win that contest too. His plan, his intention, his plan. His plan. What is your plan for the future? My plan is to win that contest. That sounds good. C. Well-known fiddler. After all, his well-known fiddler was to win that contest too. Once again, doesn't really make sense. Not in the context of this. D. The grand prize. After all, his grand prize was to win that contest too. Doesn't flow, doesn't make sense either. So let's have a look. I think we're going to go back to plan. After all, his plan was to win that contest too. Which phrase helps explain the meaning of intention? Plan. B. Plan. You see, so I want you to notice one more thing that I did there. I went through it. I got to A, B, and I thought it was B. And then I went to C and D. If I thought it was B, why did I do C and D? Because you need to check all of them. Sometimes they try and trick you and give you kind of a half answer that could be it. And then if you see that and you don't go on to D and maybe it's D, which is the proper answer, then just for the sake of a couple of seconds reading, you've gone and thrown the question away. Okay? So when we approach the exam, we have to be very tactical about it, which means we have to have a plan. We have to have an intention. Okay, question 9. Bear with me. Read this paragraph again. There you go. It's there again. A month earlier, he had won the county fiddling contest. Before that day, he played his winning song hundreds of times. The 1902 state fiddling contest was in 3 months, and he thought he would practice the song 100 more times before then. After all, his intention was to win that contest too. Which phrase shows when the 1902 state fiddling contest will happen? Which phrase tells us when the 1902 state fiddling contest will happen? When? When is the key word, guys. They always, in the ESL exam, they will always have questions that depend upon when, why, where, what, and how many. The question words, they always go back to the question words. And these questions are normally, they're easy ones for you to get right. Okay? So it says, when will it happen? When is time? So it could be time like 9:45 a.m. or it could be time like a day on Tuesday, or maybe it could be a date like the 1st of February. It could be yesterday. It could be in the past. When is always dealing with the time. Okay? So let's have a look. When will the state fiddling contest happen? A month earlier. Well, a month earlier, it could be that. That deals with time. So let's put that on hold. It's a possible. B, hundreds of times. See, they're trying to trick you. They put the word time into that by saying hundreds of times. But hundreds of times is not a time. When did you have your hair cut? Hundreds of times. No, that's not a direct answer to the question. So we get rid of B. C, in 3 months. Okay, that's a time too. So let's put that on hold too with A. And D, 100 more times. That doesn't make sense. When will it happen? 100 more times. That doesn't tell us when it happens. So it's not B or D. So let's look at A and C. When will the state fiddling contest happen? Either a month earlier or in 3 months. The clue is in the question. Without even reading the passage, the clue is in the question. The question says, when will it happen? Will, which tense is, if you say I will, it will, is that in the past? Is that the present or the future? It's the future. When will it happen? So now that's a bigger clue. A month earlier. Well, if you're asking when something's going to happen in the future, you can't talk about the past. I can't say, when will I read my newspaper? And then say yesterday. That makes no sense. That makes no sense. That means it's already happened, and I'm asking, when will it happen? So it has to be C. When will it happen? In 3 months. It's going to happen in 3 months. Okay? You see, with that one, we can eliminate B and D because it made no sense whatsoever. And then when we really look closely at the question, we could eliminate A. It's all about eliminating the other responses. Sometimes the answer will jump out, but sometimes it's about eliminating the answers that make no sense at all. Okay, question 10. Read these sentences again. Raymond's mother called to Tom. A letter arrived for you. Tom dashed inside. He reappeared shortly and exclaimed, Mr. Stickler wants me to start working for him in Huntington in 2 weeks. Which word shows that Tom is excited by what he read in the letter? A, arrived. B, exclaimed. C, called. D, reappeared. This is a tough question. And this question, whether you get it right or wrong, you can use context, but it mainly relies on you knowing the vocabulary, and that's what it's testing. It's testing your vocabulary. So how do we know that Tom is excited? A, arrived. A letter arrived. That doesn't tell us anything about Tom. B, exclaimed. He reappeared shortly and exclaimed, Mr. Stickler wants me to start working for him in Huntington in 2 weeks. When you exclaim, you're excited. Okay? Don't do that. I can't believe that. It's all exclaiming. C, called. Raymond's mother called to Tom. Well, that doesn't show that Tom's excited. And D, reappeared. That's just telling us he came back out. So it's B, it's exclaimed. And I can't really go into more detail in that question than just tell you it's exclaimed. And those are things that we will reinforce in class, and we'll make that so that's just, you know, that automatic. Okay? Question 11. Which pair of phrases and sentences from the passage help show that Raymond's emotions towards his brother have changed? So, how do these questions work? These questions always appear. Each choice will have two sentences. And in those sentences, we want to see a change in Raymond's emotions. So they might try and trick you. Firstly, they might put the word emotion in one of the sentences, thinking that you'll see emotion. Quick, do that. Secondly, they might make one of the sentences be spot on. The first sentence might show emotion, but then not the second sentence. But they're counting on you not reading the second sentence. You're just kind of quickly marking it. So these questions you need to be extra special careful about and take your time. Okay? So let's have a look at the choices. So we're looking for a change in emotions towards his brother. A, Raymond smiled at Tom's joy. Raymond, feeling sad, glanced at Tom. Okay, talking about emotions, that's a possible one. B, Raymond's mother called to Tom. Don't despair, Tom reassured him. Well, the first one, Raymond's mother called to Tom, doesn't tell us anything about Raymond. Not whatsoever. So it can't be that. Can't be that. C, could see his father and his brother Tom, who appeared exhausted. Once again, tells us nothing about Raymond's emotions. Mr. Stickler wants me to start working for him in Huntington in 2 weeks. No. Now, notice all of this comes from the text. All of these are details. Sometimes we fool ourselves and go, oh, they're details. Oh, yeah. No, just because they're details, it doesn't mean it answers the question. The answer has to show us a change in emotions, how he feels, specifically Raymond. D. I can't practice my fiddling, Raymond said. Next year, he whispered to himself. Once again, doesn't tell us. The first sentence, maybe it tells us that he's depressed, maybe. But the second sentence doesn't tell us anything. So let's go back to A. Raymond smiled at Tom's joy. So can we infer something from that? Can we guess what Raymond's emotions are? Yeah. If Raymond is smiling at Tom's joy, then he's happy for his brother. Next sentence. Raymond, feeling sad, glanced at Tom. So now he's changed. We've seen it change. He's gone from the first sentence where he's happy, the second sentence, he's sad. And we're directly told he's sad. Does that show a change in emotions? Yes. Yes, it does. That gives us answer A. Okay? So once again, we saw a good answer, but we kept on reading. We had to eliminate the other ones. We had to be sure, because if D had suddenly gone, oh, there's emotions in that one, we then would have had to think harder. But at least we wouldn't have thrown our opportunity away by not looking at D. Okay, you'll be glad to know we have come to the final question, question 12. Read these phrases again. He would practice the song 100 more times before then. Become as famous as Luke. Keep practicing so you can win the state contest. Which idea do these phrases support? So he would practice the song 100 more times. He'd become as famous as Luke. Keep practicing so you can win the state contest. What ideas does this support? Do these phrases support? A. Raymond will stop playing the fiddle to work. Yes, he will. That's true. In the passage, we know he's going to stop playing the fiddle as much, although he is going to keep practicing. But these phrases don't support that, not these specific phrases. B. Raymond wants to give the fiddle to his brother. At no point do we get that. We can't even infer that from what's said. C. Raymond is dedicated to mastering the fiddle. Okay, there's a couple of words. Dedicated. The word dedicated means you are focused on that. That's what you're going to do. You could be dedicated to your family, dedicated to schoolwork. It means that you will not let anything get in your way when trying to achieve it. And mastering. Okay, we talk about mastering standards in education. The idea that you keep on progressing and then eventually you are the master. One day you guys will be the master of English. You'll be commanding. You'll be masters of English. So Raymond is dedicated to mastering the fiddle. Well, he's going to practice 100 times. He wants to become as famous as Luke. And he's going to keep practicing. That sounds like dedication. And it sounds like his end goal is to master the fiddle. So that's a strong one. D. Raymond can still take lessons from Luke Lucas. No, that doesn't support that in any way. So the answer is C. The answer is C. Raymond is dedicating to mastering the fiddle. Okay? So I know it's a bit of a strange thing to do this on video instead of being in person. I wish we were in person, but we're not, for obvious reasons. We all have to stay safe. So that was the reading section, and that's what we would have done in class, and that's what I would have sat down and told you, and we would have argued about it, I'm sure. But that's my thinking when I go through these tests. So if you have any questions about what we just talked about, if you have any statements, anything you'd like to say, or any queries about anything, you can email me at gramsbottom@schools.nyc.gov, or you can comment on Google Classroom, or you can join our live session and come tell me what you think, which would be ideal. So I hope everyone's doing okay, and I'll see you in the future. Okay.